I'm super excited for this thing. Oh man, okay. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Hoffman Engineering. Today I have a brand new 3D printer to unbox, and I am really excited for it because in front of me is the XYZprinting Nobel 1.0 Advanced. This is one of their newest stereolithography 3D printers. It's one of those, it's a resin-based 3D printer that kind of pulls an object out of a pool of resin. I've never tried one of these out before, so I am super excited for this machine. So I hope you can join me in this unboxing experience. We'll pull it out of the box, we'll take a look at the mechanics, and we'll just talk about what this printer does. Now, full disclosure, this was sent to me directly by XYZprinting. I got talking to them after owning the 1.0 Pro. You can see my review of that machine up here, and they wanted to send me a machine to kind of test out and review. So just wanted to throw that out there, but I am super excited for this. So sit back and join me as we rip this out of the box. So, as I was saying, this is a stereolithography 3D printer. And what that means is that there is a vat of resin. If I can get these things. There's a vat of resin that is UV curable, and then underneath that vat of resin there is a UV laser that shines underneath, and that will harden a little bit of that resin, and then you do that layer by layer, and eventually you'll have a object pulled out of that pool of resin. And the cool thing about that is that you can get much finer detail than you can with other 3D printers, with these filament-based 3D printers. Those have a pretty coarse layer height compared to these resin-based machines. You can get much finer detail with these machines. So that's what I am excited about. So let's rip all of this open. We'll just cut through all of this. And let's see what this machine looks like. Now I think I should just be able to lift this out of here. Is this gonna go? Oh, well, some pieces have stuck to the sides. Looks like there was little bent bits of cardboard that have attached to the sides. Oh, I hope I have enough room up here. Barely. Try not to break anything. Well, there we go. That wasn't too eventful. So you can see the machines right here. There's tons of packaging. If this is anything like the DaVinci Pro, the packaging on that 3D printer was amazing. So I'm hoping the same for this 3D printer. Let's pull off the top. There's a little bit of packaging there, and if there's anything else, there's cardboard, but I don't think there's anything in that. And then finally, nope, that's it. So we'll just throw this over to the side. Perfect. So here's the machine. We have a little bit of a user manual, a little bit of instructions on how to use the printer. So that's really cool. We have a little bit more packaging. Oh, this one does have something in it. So we'll put this off to the side. And then this, I think, just lifts right off. And there we go. So here's the kind of base of the printer. So this is the front of the machine. We'll have the vat of resin right here. And this is the build plates that will lower down into that vat, and then it will kind of lift the object out of that vat. So that's cool. Let's get some of this packaging off. And while I do this, I can talk about the build areas and kind of the specs of this machine. So I'm not sure of the exact build area of this machine. I could only find, this is the 1.0 Advanced, which hasn't been released quite yet. But if it's anything like the 1.0, the original model, the Nobel 1.0, then this should have a build area of around 128 millimeters by 128 millimeters with a 200 millimeter Z height there. So it's much smaller than your normal FDM filament-based printers, but it's actually not a bad size for SLA printers. Excuse the noise. Let's actually just pull this out here. So in comparison, if you've followed any of the SLA 3D printer market, you probably have heard of the Form 1. The Form 1 and the Form 2 by Form Labs. Those are kind of the premier hobbyist SLA printers. And those have a build area of slightly less than the original Nobel, actually. So they are known for their kind of, smaller build areas, but they make up for it in resolution. You can get much higher resolution prints with one of these machines. So here is the machine itself. I like the look. It has a nice red, kind of red and black finish. Let me pull you guys down and so you can see it a little bit more. There we go. So it has a red and black finish, very similar to the DaVinci 1.0 Pro. I think it looks pretty good. It comes with one of their clear bottles of resin, and I think that there's another bottle in here somewhere. So let's open up some of this other packaging. This just pops open and reveals a few accessories that can get thrown away. So here is a resin tank. So this will sit under here and what actually holds the resin. We have some accessories related to rinsing off the parts. So with these resin printers, what you'll do is after the print has finished, you'll pull the print off the print bed, but then you have to wash off the excess resin because it's still covered in this resin. So you'll usually take a bottle, a bucket, you'll fill it with rubbing alcohol. Then you'll dip the resined prints in here and use that alcohol to kind of clean it off. So they supply a bucket, they supply a bunch of gloves because you probably don't want to walk around with resin on your hands. So gloves, that's a really nice touch that they included. This is a nice bucket that has clamping and a sealed lid. So that's actually really good to store the rubbing alcohol. And then there is, what's in here? It looks like these are all of the cables. So this machine can connect to your computer via USB. So you can send prints from your computer. Or what you can also do is plug in a USB drive. So they actually include a USB drive. This looks to be an 8 gig USB drive. And then this is also the top for the resin bottle. So they supply a USB drive that you would then upload the print to, and then you can plug it into the machine and print directly from USB, or you can print directly from your computer if it's plugged in. So it's really nice that they included a USB thumb drive in that. Very nice. The other cables are just your standard USB cable and a power cable. So very nice there. Let's clear off some of this very quickly. Go over to the side. This is off, and this. Sorry about that. So other than the USB stick, we also have a paint scraper. That's very nice, used for scraping off the prints after they are finished. And then we also have a power brick. So here is a power brick. You plug this into the wall, this into the machine. This is what supplies power just kind of like a laptop kind of power brick. So that's that, and that's all that was in this packaging. Now we have the side packaging over here. It's really neat to see how they packaged up these printers. Normally they will use every single bit of space available, including the kind of side packaging that was kind of sitting on here. It's always cool to see how people package up their products, because shipping is expensive. And if you have to ship a bunch of empty weights, well, or empty space, that can be costly. So this is the hood of the machine. Is there anything else in here? No. So, because these are UV curable resins, they will cure if you have this sitting next to a window with sunlight coming through or anything else of that nature. So you have to protect your eyes while it's printing if you're looking at it, but also protect the resin left over from sunlight. And the way that they have done this is to provide a hood. So this will be constructed and placed around the machine to block out that light and also block out the laser light from hitting your eyes while the machine is running. So let's pull some of these panels out. It is a very nice looking, I would assume some kind of acrylic or something along those lines. You can see through it, but it has a orange kind of tint to it. And there should be a few more panels like this that you then assemble. It is my understanding that these pieces, when you want to access it, you actually have to lift the entire hood off. So you may want to remember that when you go to place this printer wherever you want to keep it, you need to have that kind of vertical height because it needs to go directly off. If you kind of tilt it while taking it off, you could hit the prints and then damage the prints, and you don't really want to do that. So here's the more panels. So we'll go and we'll assemble these panels and get all of this up and running. So let me talk a little bit more about that SLA process and how it differs from the FDM. So the FDM printers, the kind of normal filament-based printers, all those do is melt a roll of plastic filaments and then build that up layer by layer. Now these SLA printers will immerse itself into a vat of resin. Laser will shine underneath, cure a very small, very thin amount of that resin, which the build platform then peels off of the bottom of the build plate. So it actually prints onto the bottom of that build plate, and then the resin vats, and then the build plate itself actually peels that layer off, and then does that multiple times to build up the 3D objects. Now these can get much higher resolution, much thinner layer heights than the FDM machines. Those machines typically print from 100 microns to 300 microns. You can go higher than that, but the lower boundary is usually around 100 microns. With these printers, the 100 microns is kind of the thickest layer height, and you can go from 25 microns up to 100 microns. So 25 versus 100, you can get a lot higher resolution. So these machines are usually used for things like jewelry, really high detailed models. I'm going to be printing a lot of miniatures, those kind of things on this machine. And then this is just a quick assembly guide. So that's nice. And then on the inside are the screws. So interesting that it's kind of screwed together. The XYZ DaVinci 1.0 Pro didn't require screws. I just kind of had to just take it apart, plug it in, and it was good to go. So let me have a screwdriver here. We'll see if I need to grab another one for, nope, that should work. Cool. So let's assemble these side panels. So this has a nice logo, their XYZprinting logo. And the first bit is to grab one of the front panels. So these are actually the sides, these are the fronts, and it should kind of just go together. So we have the screw on top, and then this should hook in. There we go. And then it slides down, or at least it should, if I've got it lined up correctly. There we go. Just need a little bit of force. And then the second side panel will go in. We'll do this over here. The same way, it slides in and then goes down. There we go. And then finally the back panel goes on. I really like the look of the hood. It's a kind of a brown, orange kind of acrylic. I think that actually looks pretty good. So this will go in and this side. Should be able to slide up. Oh. Cool. So, like I said, this is my first SLA printer. I am excited to see what I can do with this. One thing that I've really wanted to do is 3D print miniatures, but standard miniatures for tabletop RPGs like Dungeon and Dragon, Pathfinder, that kind of stuff, they're usually based off of an inch grid system. So that means that the miniatures are generally really small and really highly detailed. So that means that the FDM printers usually can't print those kind of miniatures. They're not high enough resolution for that. So that's what I'm looking forward to this machine is. I'm going to try to see how fine, how small of detail I can get, and we'll print some miniatures and do some other cool stuff. Now, if you guys have had access to a SLA machine before, I would love to hear kind of your experiences with whatever machines you've used. And also, if you have any cool models that you have printed or would like to see printed, leave those in the comments down below. I would really, really appreciate that because I'm only going to have this machine for a little bit, so I would like to print as many things on it as possible. I'm going to be running this thing pretty heavily. Let me get some of that protective plastic off of it while I have the machine not screwed all the way down. Just so that it's easy to remove afterwards. Cool, there we go. So yes, leave those links in the comments below, and leave your experiences with SLA machines, because I am excited for this machine. If you can't tell by the way that I've been talking about it. There we go. So this is the hood, and it just kind of sits over the machine like this. So let's see what this machine looks like all assembled. That's actually a really cool look. Now I'm curious to see what it looks like when it's printing. I'm not sure if you'd be able to see the laser going or what that's going to look like. It's really dark on the inside. It's really hard to tell kind of what's going on, which I guess is good for the resin. Not a lot of UV light's going to get in here, but It's hard to see. I like looking at things. I could stare at my FDM printers for forever and just be mesmerized while it's printing. Let me take a quick look at the printer or the manual. It seems to be the standard manual of here's how to unpack it, here's how to set it up, here's all of the little bits and pieces of it. So let's actually pull this off. Let's plug it in, and there's still a little bit of packaging, so let me do that. And we can see this thing in motion, because that's what we always want to see. We want to see this thing fired up and getting ready for its first print. Now, I'm not going to do its first prints in this video. That will be in a separate video coming right up after I get a chance to set it up, calibrate it, kind of walk through that calibration process. I've heard that these machines take a little bit longer to set up than FDM machines, just because you have to make sure that these are that the build platform is perfectly level to the vat, that resin tank, and then you have to make sure it's all tightened down correctly, and so that can take a little bit longer to do than a lot of other filament-based 3D printers, where those are kind of pull it out of the packaging, plug it in, install the software, and you're good to go. So let's plug this in. Let's see this thing come to life. It's alive! Let me pull you guys down and zoom in, and we'll see this thing in motion. Well, that was really weird. It tried to do something as soon as I turned it on. I'm gonna have to review the tape and see exactly what happened there. It looked like it tried to go down or something along those lines. I'm not exactly sure. Hopefully that didn't break anything. But we'll find out, and if so, I'll talk to XYZprinting and see what went on there. But I'm glad that I had that recorded. So what we can do is we will go to Utilities, and I want to move the platform to the top. Let's see this thing move up. Move to the top now. Yes. Well, it's moving smoothly now. I don't know what that really loud noise is before it started to move. I don't know if that's the build plates trying to do something or what. But this allows us to remove the last little bit of packaging, and then also remove the thin piece of paper that blocks the optical glass. Now, let me grab another camera, and we'll get a close-up of this machine. So here is the close-up of the machine, and you can see that here's the build platform that you can then remove the print from after it's done, and it kind of just slides in. So that's very nice. And then during the calibration process, this thing will get nice and level, and we'll get that going. Now here is where the laser underneath will shine up into a build vat, and then the object gets pulled out. So you want to make sure that this is dust free. You don't want anything getting onto this, because that will affect the quality of the prints. And then back here is the resin bottle. So the resin goes in here, gets feeded into a tank, and it'll be good to go. So we'll do one last thing before we call this quits. There's one more box to unbox. So let me grab my X-Acto knife. And so this is the resin tank. This is what actually holds the resin. And it's also, these are consumable items because like I said, the print gets actually adhered to the bottom of these tanks. And then the build platform peels it off of the bottom. And so that kind of peeling process eventually degrades these tanks. And eventually you'll have to replace the tank entirely, just so that you have a brand new bottom of the tank. So if I pull this out, we can see that this is two tanks? Nope, just one tank. So here is a tank. It is fully sealed with a nice plastic finish so that you can't actually stick your fingers in there, because you want to make sure that you don't have fingerprints on the bottom here. You want these to be as perfectly clean and transparent as possible. So we'll pull this off. We'll slide this in. The resin will go from the resin tank into the machine. It has an autofill option so that it will maintain the proper amount of resin in the tank. So yeah, this has been the unboxing of the XYZprinting Nobel 1.0 Advanced. This is a very cheap desktop SLA printer. So speaking of the price, I think these machines will be $1,500, so $1,500, plus or minus 100 or so. I'm not exactly sure of the price because it hasn't been put out for public. Their current printer, the Nobel 1.0, the non-advanced version, is currently at $1,500, but you can find it on Amazon for about $950, which is an amazing price for SLA printers. Now, the Form 1 from Form Labs and the Form 2, those are $2,500 and $3,500 machines. Really expensive. So this is about half the price as one of the Form Labs machines. Now, the real question is, does it print well? Well, that you'll have to come back for another episode when we fire this thing up, do the calibration, and do the first prints. So, thank you guys for joining me on this unboxing. Hope you enjoyed my ramblings. Still not used to this kind of long streak of talking, so I hope you enjoyed it. If you've owned an SLA printer, like I was talking about before, leave your thoughts and comments down in the comment section below. I would love to hear it. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Join me next time. I'll see you guys later.